with coverage you can count on. This is the Erie News NOWCAST.
Good morning on this Wednesday. Thanks for joining us. It is a very wintry looking spring Wednesday morning. I'm Mark Saul today. It's a mid-morning check of some of the stories we're following at Erie News Now. And we begin with the return of that snow, the return of slippery roads. Yeah, it all has local police and rescue crews responding to a number of crashes. At least that was the case throughout the overnight and early morning hours. A little after 7 o'clock this morning, state troopers responded to a call for a rollover crash out of I-90 in western Erie County. No word on any injuries there. They also had to deal with a number of vehicles that just slid off area roads. Earlier this morning, a couple of semis rolled over on slippery I-90 out near Girard. No reports of any serious injuries despite all of these late night and early morning crashes in this April snow. And we're coming off a snowy and busy stretch for Erie firefighters. They had to take on 2 overnight fires. One broke out around 11:30 last night at a home near West 26th and Raspberry. Some heavy damage reported to that structure. And there was another fire around 4 o'clock this morning along Perry Street, the 2800 block. First thing crews that arrived at that scene did was to just make sure no one was still inside. And once they found out that was the case, they started taking on that fire. A couple of dogs apparently did not make it out of this Perry Street home this morning, and firefighters are expected to start the search for a cause of both of these fires a little later on today. Well, new calls for change and justice coming out of Columbus, Ohio this morning after a teenage girl was shot and killed by a police officer there, with a lot of it caught on camera on Tuesday. Dozens of people turned out in front of the State House in Columbus, waiting for a verdict in the George Floyd case. But soon as that was happening, word started to spread that a police officer in Columbus had shot and killed a 16-year-old girl. That led to these demonstrations that lasted late into the night over in Ohio. Now, police did eventually release a body camera footage of that incident. Now, it appears to show the teen fighting and then attempting to stab another girl before being shot. Protesters say police should have done more to de-escalate the situation. Here's a look at some of that body camera video in this Columbus situation. The officer involved in the shooting of this young girl has not yet been identified. Meantime, the reaction from local leaders really pouring into our newsroom since the guilty verdicts came down yesterday in the trial for former Minneapolis cop Derek Chauvin. And that list of people reacting includes Bishop Dwayne Brock of Erie's Victory Christian Center. We were there as Bishop Brock watched those verdicts being read aloud in court. He calls it all a step, but just a step in the right direction.
The world was waiting with great anticipation to see a guilty verdict on all the charges. And of course, that's exactly what happened. And I thank God.
As he thinks technology was a big part of this one without that video evidence in George Floyd's case. Brock says he thinks the verdict could have gone another way. Chauvin does face potentially more than 70 years in jail, with that sentencing scheduled now for June. Meantime, an Erie County jury now in a third day of deliberations in the trial of a local man charged with murder. 36-year-old Derek Fiedler is claiming self-defense in the fatal 2019 shooting of a man by the name of Jose Arenas Jr. That shooting happened outside this home on West 35th Street. The defense says Arenas was the aggressor in a confrontation that ended with that gunfire. This Erie County jury has already deliberated for about a day and a half. Again, they had yet to reach a verdict as of this morning. All right, I want to quickly turn to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic, and we begin in Europe, where health leaders now say the benefits of the much talked about Johnson & Johnson version of the COVID-19 vaccine outweigh the risk of developing blood clots. Johnson & Johnson company leaders said on Tuesday that they plan to resume the rollout of that version of the vaccine over in Europe after the drug regulator said a warning, though, should be added to the product indicating a possible link. That's not, they say the shot's benefits, though, outweigh the risks. The EU drug regulator's endorsement does clear a path for those J&J shots to resume over in Europe. Could be an indicator as to how the rollout of those shots will continue here in the States. Meantime, President Biden set to talk about it all. The state of the vaccination rollout, the pandemic fight, a little bit later on today. It comes with all adults here in the U.S. now eligible for the vaccine. That happened back on earlier this week, rather, the 19th. The U.S., meantime, has administered its first doses to some 131 million people. And according to the CDC, 84 million Americans are now fully vaccinated. Well, we've been talking about the push for legalized recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania, and it took one local state senator down to Harrisburg as part of a rally in the Capitol yesterday. Republican State Senator Dan Laughlin standing side by side with Philadelphia Democrat Sharif Street alongside about 100 more people who are all part of a march down in Harrisburg on that 4/20 date of Tuesday. Street and Laughlin are actually co-sponsoring a bill to legalize recreational marijuana in Pennsylvania. Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman was also on hand. He's, of course, been a big proponent of that plan to make recreational pot legal here in PA.
Well, I understand it'll create roughly 50,000 direct jobs in Pennsylvania and then about another 100,000 of ancillary jobs to go with that. And, you know, creating jobs in Pennsylvania, it should be a very bipartisan issue.
That effort, Erie News Now tracking it as it moves forward. 16 states, including New York, have already legalized recreational marijuana. Well, not exactly a huge surprise, but it's certainly a disappointment for Erie Otters hockey fans. The season that really never got started is officially over this morning. The Ontario Hockey League's commissioner says they are planning to get things back up and running in September with a 68-game schedule for next season, but yeah, not happening this year. OHL Commissioner David Branch also says he thinks fans will be able to return to those venues, potentially with full capacity. They say a full plan for the start of the next OHL season should be coming out in the next week or so. And I think a lot of folks, David Wolter, are wondering how long this snow is going to be sticking around. It is April 21st.
Yeah, it's sticking everything right now out there in Warren County, except for the main roads. Still looking good over the Veterans Memorial Bridge, but the flakes are coming down. You can see got a little bit of a coating out there along the banks of the Allegheny River and those nice green trees. Unfortunately, the buds getting a little flaky right now. As we look out in Erie, we're looking down State Street here. That's what you see right there. Things are certainly quieter overall. We've managed about up to around 3 inches of snow out there. 33 degrees right now. Feels like 25 with that northwest wind at 10 miles per hour. And we'll continue to tour the area. Take you into Mill Creek Township right now. Down by the mall, Peach Streets right there, interchange there, and you can see it's just wet. But some of those neighborhood roadways could be a little slushy out there. We are going to see those temperatures really come down tonight, so you might want to try to get rid of some of that slop before it does refreeze tonight. But things are looking, they're improving overall as the snow continues to kind of scoot out. We'll have a little bit of lake effect as we get into the afternoon. You can still see some of those heavier areas of snow in towards central PA, but that's generally out of our viewing area. Light snow expanding towards the east with some drier air coming in from the west. But you'll notice that Futurecast does still bring us a few spots of snow. We're at 5, 6 o'clock, so for that evening commute for some folks. In between, though, we got some breaks, so don't be surprised if the sun does come out. Now, temperatures tonight, we're coming down into the 20s and 30s, so frozen conditions out there. Maybe some black ice to start off the day on Thursday. That's going to be the main concern heading out the door. During the day, a couple of spotty rain or snow showers, but things certainly look a little bit quieter overall, and more sunshine to follow on Friday. So winter weather advisory still continues up until noon. The main concern going to be some of those slick roadways. Haven't really heard of any down branches or any power outages, still very, very low, but the main reason we were thinking that is because of how heavy the snow is. The heavy nature of the snow could certainly weigh down on trees and even some power lines. All right, we'll talk about the week ahead in just one moment.
All right, thank you, David. Well, a recent episode of the very popular game show Wheel of Fortune, it actually turned out to be more like a wheel of unfortunate events.
Yikes. Well, I'd rather be standing here than there, frankly.
Did you hear what you said?
I did,
Yeah.
right after I said
This
it.
is longtime Wheel of Fortune host Pat Sajak, who accidentally gave away the answer to that puzzle during last Thursday's broadcast. He's actually 74 years old. That kind of surprises me. But Sajak was speaking to a contestant who was trying to figure out that puzzle. You just saw it. It had 6 of the 12 letters revealed. Yikes, Sajak said of the puzzle. He said he'd rather be standing here than there, quite frankly. And it turns out that quite frankly was the answer that everybody was looking for, including the contestant who, get this, didn't even notice Pat Sajak basically giving him the answer. And so he failed to get the right answer before time expired. Who's buried in Grant's tomb, David? I think is the question this morning.
I guess he was. I guess he was too nonchalant about the way he said it, so
Yeah.
he wouldn't even have picked it up. But
I guess.
when you've been hosting a show for as long as Pat Sajak
You're
has,
due, yeah.
you're bound to make a mistake every once in a while.
Unlike you, perfect record of forecasting. weather.
Yes, absolutely. I would say, give myself a solid B overall. As we look ahead for the next couple of days, 38 today, 44 tomorrow. Tomorrow's Earth Day, so we get to celebrate Mother Earth with still a little chill in the air, even some gusty winds from time to time. Friday, 58 degrees. We're up into the 60s on Saturday. More clouds. Showers pretty likely on Saturday. The pick of the weekend might be Sunday, but temperatures are a little bit cooler. Look at next week, though. 60 and 70 with more sun.
Good stuff. That'll do it for this edition of the NOWCAST. We'll be back on Facebook Live about the same time tomorrow. And, of course, it's 5 a.m., the start time for Erie News Now Sunrise. 30 minutes of news comes your way at noon on WSEE. We'll see you tomorrow.